In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most gracious, Prophet Muhammad, peace and prayer be upon him. Hello my dear students, I'm Mr. Mahmoud Zahran from Ali Islamic School. Today, inshallah, I'm gonna complete Unit 2 for Secondary 2, Eating Around the World. Adjectives and adverbs, comparative adjectives and superlative adjectives. What's the difference between an adjective and adverb? An adjective describes nouns or pronouns, but adverbs describe verbs. Okay? As I tell you, Omar is good student or is a good student. Omar writes well. يبقى good here is an adjective. Okay? It describes Omar, but well describes how Omar writes. So the adverb describes the verb, but the adjective describes a noun or a pronoun. The adjectives or the comparative form of adjectives and the superlative form of adjectives. We have three kinds of adjectives: short adjectives, long adjectives, and irregular adjectives. Let's start with the short adjectives. We add er to the adjective in the comparative form, and then after the er of the adjective. So cheap could be cheaper than, narrow narrower than, clever cleverer than, large larger than, simple simpler than, rich richer than, stupid stupider than, quiet quieter than, and so on. So as tall taller than, short shorter than, and so on. These are we call short adjectives. When we make comparative form, we add er to the adjective, and then when we make superlative forms of these adjectives, we put the before the adjectives and add est to it. So the superlative forms of these adjectives are cheap, the cheapest, narrow, the narrowest, clever, the cleverest, large, the largest, short, the shortest, tall, the tallest, and so on. So when we make superlative forms of these adjectives, we add the before the adjective and est to the end of the adjective. Okay? There are some adjectives which end with y. When we make comparative form, we change y into ier, such as lucky luckier than, easy easier than, wealthy wealthier than, funny funnier than, pretty prettier than, healthy healthier than, happy happier than, heavy heavier than. So here we change y into I and add er. There are some other adjectives which we double the last letter before adding er, as big, bigger than, hot, hotter than, fat, fatter than. Okay, we have some other adjectives as wide, wider than, the widest. But for the long adjectives, these are we call short adjectives. But for the long adjectives, as expensive, as interesting, as difficult, we put before the adjectives more than the adjective than. Okay, as for superlative, we put the most before the adjective or the least. As expensive, more expensive than or less expensive than, more terrifying than or less terrifying than, the most expensive, the most terrifying. We can mention gold is the most expensive metal. Okay, we can mention wood is the least expensive material. Okay, could be like this. If there are two things or two persons the same in something, we can put the adjectives in the middle of as, or so as. As I can tell you, John is as tall as Peter, Hassan isn't as old as Peter. Peter is older than Hassan if it's comparative form. Old is short adjective. We add er then. Hassan is younger than. Young is short adjectives. I don't know as many people as you do. As adjective many. If we compare uncountable thing, we put instead of many much. Okay, I don't have as much money as you. You know more people than I do. If we put after then subject pronoun, I should follow the subject with a verb. Okay, but if it's objective pronoun, then me instead of I do. You know more people than me, or you know more people than I do. I know fewer people. People is countable noun, so few is for countable, but little for uncountable. I know fewer people than you do. Frank isn't as rich as, as adjective as, or so adjective as. Joe is richer than Frank. The test wasn't as difficult as I thought. The test was easier than I thought. Okay, so subjective pronoun after then verb. But if it is objective pronoun, the test was easier than I thought. Here subjective pronoun ضمير فاعل ثم verb after the pronoun. Okay, I didn't expect her to be so smart. She was smarter than I expected. Smart is a short adjective, er then. We have some adverbs such as slightly, even, a bit, much, a lot, a little, far. Okay? The third kind of adjectives is the irregular adjectives, such as good is an adjective. The comparative form is better or better. The superlative form is best or the best. Okay, so the irregular adjectives are good, better than the best. Okay, bad, worse than the worst. We have much and many. Much for uncountable and many for countable nouns. They are more for comparative form, the most for superlative. So much, many, more than the most. We have far, which isn't of the opposite of near. Farther or further for comparative, and the farthest or the furthest for superlative. So far, farther than the farthest, far, further than the furthest. We have little for uncountable nouns. Little قليل للكميات. Little, less than the least. Okay, we have further could be used as more. Are there any further questions? I mean here, are there any more questions? We have most plus adjectives could be equal or equals very. Okay, without the, most without the, equals very. It's an adverb as very. The article I have just read was most interesting. I mean the article which I have just read was very interesting. We can put the first or the second before superlatives. Alexandria is the second largest city in Egypt. Also, we can use possessive adjectives instead of the, as in the example. It was his biggest achievement in chemistry. His here is possessive adjective. We use it instead of the. It was his biggest achievement in chemistry. Let's answer some questions based on structures or grammar. But before we start, I'd like to tell you that how is followed by adjectives. I can say how long, how wide, how old, how deep, but what is followed by nouns? What length, what width, what age, what depth, okay, what height, and so on. Also the same is followed by nouns, but as followed by adjectives. Okay, I can say your house is as high as mine. and your house is the same height. Okay, يبقى not high here, the same is followed by nouns, so your house is the same height as mine. Okay, let's start to answer some questions. Note that he is taller than me, or than him, or than her. As I told you before, here then followed by objective pronoun. But he is taller than I am, or he is, or she is. Here is subjective pronoun, then verb to be after the subject. Okay, they earn more money than us, but they earn more money than we do. Okay, the exercise based on grammar or structures. Number 1, this is the hardest test I have ever taken. Number 2, it was wrong of him to neglect his study. Number 3, he wasn't as cooperative as his colleagues. Number 4, he isn't so reliable as his friend. Number 5, my flat is bigger than yours. يبقى here comparative form, short adjective. Number 6, you didn't do as much work. يبقى here work is uncountable, so I use much work as I did. Number 7, her friend is wealthier than her. Number 8, you shouldn't have invited John to the party. He's a boring man. Here boring ing adjectives refers to persons when a person is the source of the feeling. لما الشخص بيبقى مصدر الشعور. يبقى جون هو اللي عنده البوردم اللي هتوصل لنا. He is a boring man, not a bored man. He is a boring man. Nobody in our company is as efficient as Peter. Number 10, it was foolish of her to waste all her money. Number 11, laptops are becoming more and more popular nowadays. Number 12, she was astonished to see some of her old friends at the party. Number 13, you shouldn't have invited John to the party. He is a boring man. This is repeated. Okay, number 14, Mike has much more money than me. Here we use much before comparative form to express certainty. Okay, Mike has much more money than me. Number 15, much more people. Here we use much before more to express certainty. Okay, much more people are entering the competition this year than last year. Number 16, the less fat you eat. Okay, now the more okay, or the less, the healthier. كلما يبقى comparative form, the less fat you eat, كلما أكلت دهن أقل. The healthier you become, كلما أصبحت أكثر صحة. Number 17, the white flower is pretty, but I think the red one is even prettier. Okay, is even prettier. Number 18, I don't read as many books. Here books is countable, so I use many books as you do. Okay, number 19, Samah is the most intelligent student. Okay, Samah is the most intelligent student in our class. Number 20, London is more beautiful than Amsterdam. Number 21, the Red Sea is not so big as, يبقى so adjective as. Okay, or as adjective as. يبقى the Red Sea is not so big as the Mediterranean. Okay, number 22, climbing is the most dangerous. Here يبقى long adjective, the most plus adjective. يبقى climbing is the most dangerous sport in the world. Number 23, the patient is slightly better today. Number 24, the Nile is the longest river in the world. Okay, number 25, that's the most, no, that's the best book. Okay, the most is wrong, because if we use the most, it should be the most interesting book. So the right is the best. Number 8, 25, that's the best book I have ever read. I liked it so much. Number 26, the Indian Ocean is not so deep as the Pacific Ocean. Number 27, yesterday I was sick, today I feel better. Number 28, John is sicker than he was yesterday. Okay, Thanks for watching. Goodbye.